Bianca Ava interview, take one, sticks. When I met Ava, I was like, oh no, we're gonna be friends. I'm gonna make her be friends with me. I mean, I really needed a trans female DP friend. Oh, sorry. DP is a director of photography.
When Bianca and I met, we were both like, I thought I was the only one. Not only were we both trans and cinematographers, we also both had Mormon families.
I was surprised how little you know about Mormonism. Having a Mormon mom and sister.
She doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, that surprised me because Mormons tend to talk about it. Being trans is certainly not enough to build a friendship. But I will say she's the only other person I know that has so many life experiences that are similar to mine. Being a cinematographer is the big one.
I've always felt that being trans was the most important thing in my life and the most boring thing in my life. The reason we get along so much is that we actually have like common interests besides being trans, because I know a lot of trans people. I'm actually friends with very few of them. The trans thing kind of fades into the background at a certain point. It just becomes part of your personal history, and there needs to be something left.
Tell her what you said earlier about me reminding you of your mom.
When Bianca was making us breakfast this morning, it was the most adorable thing. I was like, Mom.
I did not realize that about myself. Ava and I talk a ton about new cameras. We talk about crew members, like we recommend crew members to each other. We recommend each other to jobs. She and I go shoot lens tests together and like always trying to figure out like how to get your career into a place that you want.
It's beautiful. It's so exciting. Just makes me want to shoot more. Jeez.
You see a lot of Hollywood saying, oh yeah, we want to support queer people, we want to support trans people, but they do it as far as like actors, directors, like where you can see it, tell your story. Yeah. But then as far as like bringing up a crew member, like.
I think I always have this feeling like I'm a little bit behind. Like I see these like young DPs that are just killing it, you know, and I obviously had a way different experience than a lot of these people, but you're like, okay, like need to kind of get my ass into gear a little bit. I consider her a mentor, someone in my life who is successful as a DP. Professionally, I also admire that I think you're an extremely talented like still photographer, you know? Yeah, you really are. And I also look at your work and go, Jesus Christ, it's so good. You know, and I'm like, I think you should get more respect because your work is so good.
When I was like 14, my parents got a video camera and I started shooting films with it all the time. And my mom one day said, you know, you could do that for a living if you want. And it was like light bulb, yep, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be a cinematographer. I love cinematography because like, you can take away any of the other elements and it would still be cinema, but you can't take away camera and the image. I get to make you feel a certain way without using words. That's what cinema is. When I go travel places to shoot, like especially outside LA and New York, there will always be a woman on set who comes to me and says, it's so great to work with a female DP. I've never worked with a female DP before. And when I first heard it, I was just like, you have no idea how rare I am. And I don't have the heart to tell them like I snuck in on undeserved male privilege. No male privilege deserved. But there was probably a couple of years where I was very androgynous. People didn't know if I was male or female. A lot of people hire me for commercials and all they know about me is my name and my work. They were like, oh, we're hiring Travis Cline. And I would show up on set and they're like, oh, we thought Travis was a guy. And I'm like, well, I'm very sorry that you thought that. Eventually, it just caused way too many problems. I should side note, like, it is very weird that I use my old name. Like, most trans people will never mention their old name, which I think is very legitimate. I just think that, I don't know, for some reason my name doesn't bother me.
I reached a place like, you know, kind of early in my transition where I was just like, this world is not made for trans people to succeed or to be like healthy, happy people. I think that a lot of other minorities have already made that connection. The system is not made for them to succeed. Money is the thing that speaks and gets them to where they want to be. And at the time when I was like trying to figure my stuff out, you still needed 60 to 100 grand to transition. So for me, work equals money equals my happiness. It's this constant cycle that feeds my work, as well as me just liking it. I want money. I think working all the time, sadly enough, still serves the same function as it did before my transition. Whenever I'm not working and left to my own devices, I am thinking about my body. I'm thinking about the things I'm still unhappy with about my transition in my body. When I look in the mirror, I see a woman, but I don't necessarily think that I'm beautiful. I very, very rarely feel sexy. Like, that's something that has always kind of eluded me. Like, I don't know what that feeling is really. And I don't very often feel comfortable expressing myself physically. I feel like I'm not done yet. Bianca's so patient and persistent. It kind of upsets me sometimes, you know?
That I'm patient?
Yeah. I tend to just be like, if you don't accept me, just like, fuck you, I'm gonna go do my own thing. You know, you wanna like kind of sit there and like teach people and change people's minds.
Yeah, it does drive her crazy that I don't like just give the middle finger to the world and just like, moving on. Like, I want the world to be a better place to live in. I think I also owe it to past and future trans people. I benefit from past trans people or any people who like fought for their rights to be seen as people, right, as equal people. Then also, okay, I have to pass that on because there's kids who are 5 years old right now that are gonna benefit from what we do now. I think as a trans person, you don't have any responsibility to live out and to change anyone's mind about anything. But regardless of whether you say a single thing or fight for anyone other than yourself, you are an activist, whether you like it or not. Just because you exist, and that says something. I took a really long time to transition. I transitioned over about 7 years. I was trying to change myself subtly because I didn't want to push my wife too far. I knew that if I transitioned, I would lose her. So I would be getting rid of one set of giant problems and pain of, you know, the gender dysphoria. But then I knew I would lose her. My wife and I have not seen each other for 2.5 years. We haven't like interacted at all. We talk through text messages. It has been awful not being with her. But it's exciting to me that she's trying, that she wants us to be friends, and she's always been super amazing about making sure that the kids see me. Like, my identity is much more as parent, friend, cinematographer than being trans?
Where does Mormon fit in?
That's a complicated one. Because I love Mormon culture and I loved growing up in it, except for the fact that they made me feel awful for being queer. At least when I was a kid in the 80s, it was like anybody who comes out as queer, it's gonna ruin your life and no one's gonna love you and it's all gonna be terrible. And I really want to be there to show people like, look, I'm gonna be both. I'm gonna be trans and I'm gonna be Mormon, and I'm not going to let you drive me away from something that I love, something that I wanna be part of. There's a 15-year-old version of me sitting in the pews at church right now that it would make a world of difference if they saw me. Like if I were 15 and I saw me, it would change the rest of my life. I've always seen trans as like a bad thing. It would be the end of the world if somebody met me and was just like, you're trans, right? Ava kind of gave me the permission because I can look at her and I go, you're as tall as I am. You have the same body as I do. You know? And so I'm like, okay, good. That's the kind of woman I want to be.
I figured out I wanted to be a cinematographer almost when I decided to start transitioning. The trans thing had been floating in my life for so long, and I'd been like pushing it away in shame and rejecting it. And the moment I just kind of like let it be, it just kind of was like, okay, I'm trans. Such a beautiful, radiant moment in my life. It was late afternoon. I was walking through Los Feliz. Light was hitting the trees just perfectly, and everything just felt so beautiful and radiant and shining and like golden. I had never like felt that way before in my entire life. I'd lived my life with like a dark cloud over my head. I'll always remember the way the light looked, you know, and like felt. And oftentimes when I'm lighting, I light from memory. Sort of the weirdly alchemical thing that happens between lenses and lighting and emotion. Attention for trans people can sometimes, a lot of times, be negative. When you asked me about doing this documentary, I wanted someone who had a good eye to shoot it. I wanted Bianca to shoot it because it's then her sensitivity, and to have me film Bianca because there is no differentiation between behind the camera and in front of the camera. And I think that's like kind of the ultimate thing that you have to deal with as a cinematographer. What are you projecting onto your subject? Are you compassionate, you know? Are you empathetic? Are you there with them, you know? Or are you just like projecting your own thing onto this person?
My mental health is so much better. I can't even describe it. Like, I mean, 3 years ago, I was completely distant. I didn't really talk to anyone. It was like all my brain power went into like survival. If I had met her like a year before, I just wasn't like a full person. So I don't think I could have been friends with her, at least not the way that we became friends. And we live far away and we both travel a ton. So like, it's always great when I'm in LA. It's like, oh, I can call Ava, we can hang out. I think God put her in my way at the right time. And I think that she was the person I needed at that moment. You know, it's like a really important friendship.